Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Welcome to our webinar today. This webinar is about barcoding, and we are going to talk about all the aspects of barcoding that relate to QFloors. And hopefully, I can give you a good overview, and we will go through all the capabilities that QFloors has. Maybe some things in a little bit more detail than others. And but this should be a good overview to introduce you in case you're wondering what kinds of things you can do with barcoding inside of QFloors. Let's see here. All right, so let's come over to our presentation here. In QFloors, there are three main areas that you can apply barcoding to. Okay. And by the way, these screens are all going to be recorded, so afterwards you can go back to the screens if you don't want to take notes right now and scroll through the screens. But you have these three main areas, right? You have point of sale, which is basically being able to fill out a sales order using barcoding. The second type that we have is moving inventory around in your warehouse. That would be like receiving inventory off trucks, moving them from bin to bin, releasing the inventory out of your warehouse. Those kinds of functions is the second type that we will talk about. And the third type will be physical inventory reconciliation, which is the one that, at least from what I've seen, most people are interested and ask about quite a bit. Especially if they have bigger warehouses that they're trying to take care of. But I'm going to go through all of these, and I think they all are very useful and have their own main uses. Okay. The general steps to get going through barcoding real quick are going to be, first of all, you're going to pick one of these areas up here that are of most interest to you, right? So if it's point of sale, you're going to pick that one. Or moving inventory, you're going to pick that one. You're not going to do all three of these at the same time. You're going to pick one, you're going to focus on it, you're going to do that one. And then once you have that one implemented, then you would move on to another one if you want to do another one. Okay, so step number one is you're going to pick one of those types. Step number two, you're going to test it out, meaning you're not going to go out and buy thousands of dollars worth of barcoding equipment, barcoding printers, barcoding scanners, Surface laptops, whatever else it is that you might, some people are buying things to hook onto their forklifts, mounting things. You're not going to do any of that, okay, until you've tested out how this is actually going to work in your organization with very little cost, but making sure that you know how you're going to implement it first. So you pick one of these, then we're going to test it out. And then after you do all that, then you're going to go and put the tags on the things with the barcodes, right? So we're not going to do the tagging part, especially for this, until you know it's going to work for you. Okay. Then the last step is you're going to go buy the equipment, right? So these are the general steps that you're going to use in implementing one of these three different areas to start off with. Okay. So let's start with point of sale. Okay. So point of sale has to do with filling out a sales order with using barcoding equipment. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is test this out. And to do that, you have to print the tags. Okay. So when you're doing point of sale tags, there's a couple of different kinds that we can use, and I'm going to show you those here real quick. So in QFloors, obviously this is the sales order screen that we're going to fill out. But to print out the tags for this, you're going to go to the product catalog. You're going to go down to catalog printing and exporting, And we have these two tags up here on the top, sample labels and 10-up tags. Okay, these are really the two options that we have. And let me just show you, I think I can printed these out and bring these up real quick. You see the 10-up format right here. So this would be what the 10-up tags look like. You get 10 to a page. You can buy Avery labels that match these standard labels. They're 2x4s, and then print these out and then slap these on probably your samples, right? So we have this type of tag right here, and then we also have the sample labels right here, which these you can see they're a little bit smaller. You can get a lot more to a page, I think 20 something, and but they also go on your samples. So these are the two types, and you're going to choose which type would best suit your operation. And then what you're going to do is you're going to test these out, right? So first of all, you're going to print one of these out, and I've already printed some of these out. So hopefully I can show you what's going on here. So we'll take one of these, and we'll come over to a sales order now. So I pre-printed these out. And by the way, you can, when you're printing from here, you could select like all tile, all tile, and it would print. If you have this all colors selected right here, it would print a sample label for every single color that you have for all tile. Or you could come back, and if you're going to do it just style by style, right, you could select a style right here, all colors, and it would select every one of these. Or if you just highlight one of these, it will only do the colors for that specific style. So there's some options on how you can do that. Okay. So now that I've printed my label, and in this testing phase that we're in, you may want to go down and buy a barcode scanner. I would buy the very cheapest one that you can get. Usually they're $50 or so at maybe an office supply place that will just plug right into your computer. You want it to be simple, cheap, and easy to implement, right? So that you're not getting stuck on barcode technology while you're trying to figure this out. And the way that I would now implement this into my system is I would come over and I would start a new cell, okay? And obviously you can put in all the header information, all that. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. But you would come over and you can click on the style line or the color line, and then I guess you can see me here, right? With this, you can't. Oh, but you can see me, right? You can see me, right? So I've got barcodes on here, right? So these are this would be like going out and grabbing a sample out of my store with one of these stickers on it. And then I would come over here to the color or the style, either field, it doesn't matter. I hit this. Let's see, I'm going to turn my, looks like my barcode thing turned off. Hold on for a second. It's not working. Oh, there we go. There we go. This is why you want to use a cheap one to test with, just so you don't have a problem. So you can see I just scanned that label, and it knew exactly what style and color were associated with that label there, okay? So what I would do is print some of these out, try filling out a sales order just by using these barcoding labels, just like this. And then, you know, once you kind of have the feel for that, then we can move on. One thing I want to bring up right here is QFloors has what's called a POS mode, point of sale mode, which basically is designed for more of a counter type situation where you're just checking people out like you would at a grocery store or at Home Depot, right? And you can move QFloors in and out of what we call POS mode by just hitting 3 forward slashes like this in the style field like that. And when I hit enter like that, it will bring me up to this scan the SKU or type in the SKU here, right? So now if I just hit my barcode again, you can see that it goes right to there. If it's floor covering and the units are not each, it will wait for you to type in how much you have here, okay? And then once I go down here and go back in, it will come right back up into my POS mode. If I was hitting a barcode on an each product, it will default to 1 and come right back up to this box right here, so that you never have to type anything in. So the only time in POS mode you'd have to type something in is if you're scanning something with square yards, square feet, or linear feet. Then it's going to expect for your input, and you're going to have to use the keyboard. Okay, so we have this POS mode that you should also be aware of and that you might want to try out with barcoding. Okay, to take it out of POS mode, I just put the same 3 forward slashes here, hit the enter button, and now I'm back into regular mode. Okay, so that's POS mode and regular mode and barcoding there. All right, so now let's come back to our little presentation here, see where we're at. So we print the tags out, we try our different types of tags, and we practice filling out a sales order, which we just did, right? And I just talked about our POS mode. Okay, now that you know what kind of tags you're going to print out and how you're going to label your samples, you're going to go ahead and start, printing out your tags on labels, okay, and start tagging your showroom, okay. Things that you can't put a barcode on because maybe you don't actually have the sample there, or maybe the type of product that it is there, it's too small for the 4x1 labels that we have. There's not 1 inch of product that you can put on there. For those kinds of things, I think you've seen this at like Home Depot and stuff, where they will have books with SKUs in them, okay? And it'll be a book with just a bunch of this stuff in here and the names and all that kind of stuff. And so you can just flip through the book, find the one that you want, hit the barcode, and for those kinds of products, that's how you're going to have to do it, okay? If the actual sample label won't fit on the product itself. But I suggest as much as possible getting that label out on the actual sample itself, so that you can't make a mistake on what you're actually ordering, okay? And then lastly, you can, if a product that you're selling, and if you're doing a lot of counter work, this is probably the case, you can just take a barcode off of an existing product when they have a barcode already on them, okay? So let me just kind of show you how that would work. So let's come over to our QFloors again. We'll go to our product catalog and we'll pick out one of these. I don't care which one it is. We'll just do this seam sealer here. We're going to edit the sundries seam sealer. And this one already has a SKU. I don't want to mess that one up. Usually, if you're going to do this, it's not a B2B product, right? It's going to be some product that doesn't already have an SKU in there. So let me, for our sakes, just kind of let's do that, right? So I don't think this one's going to have one. Hey, I was right. All right, so you're just going to come in and you're going to say, all right, this is the barcode that I want to put in here. So you're going to take, it doesn't even matter, right? Been drinking vitamin water. So I've got my barcode here, all right? So all you're going to do is click in that SKU field right there, and I'm going to grab it, and it will go ahead and put that SKU in there for you, okay? Then you're going to push OK, and OK here. Then you're going to come back to your invoice, right? And 2 days later, now that you've put that in there, you're going to come back, you're going to grab this at the counter or whatever, and I'm going to go ahead and hit it. Oh, let's see. Oh, the one thing I forgot to, hey, this is good. There was one thing I forgot to do here. When you put it in up here, let me come back to where I was. Let's see. I was in, where was I? I was in, oh yeah, this one right here. Okay, in QFloors, in order for it to tell it that it's a barcode, you need to put a, oh wait, you don't do it here. Let's see. Don't do it here. You do it over here. You need to put a question mark. If it's a non-QFloors tag, you need to put a question mark in first before you do the scan, and that tells QFloors that there's a question mark. If you can see on all of our barcodes here, when you print them out, there'll be a question mark in the front of it. So when I do that, you can see when I put the question mark there, it went ahead and it found it. Okay, so if it's a non-QFloors one, which is what I did right there, non-QFloors, let me do that one more time. You see how it didn't do it there? You could actually do it before you do it. Or if you find out it does it just like that, you just put your barcode in like that and it will, or the question mark, and it will find it. Okay. So you can do it either before or after you hit the barcode. It doesn't matter. All right. So that is how you do put a barcode in that is a non-QFloors barcode. Okay. All right. Tagging your samples, or I mean existing barcodes. All right, let's come out of here. Now, at this point, once you've gone ahead and tagged everything, you've created all your barcodes for all the stuff that you need. Now it's the time to go buy whatever scanners you're going to need. Notice this is at the end so that you're not buying scanners before you need them. What I see most often is that people start down this road and they're like, they get distracted or whatever, and then they never finish. And now they've gone out and bought hundreds of dollars worth of barcoding equipment that they don't use. So I guess what I'm trying to do is for you, help you understand how committed you are to this before you actually go buy a lot of extra stuff, right? All right. So that's point of sale. All right. I'm going to pause right here for a second and see if we have some questions that we want to answer. Can you put the question mark in the product catalog? No, you can't, because what's going to happen there is the question mark has to be on the barcode that's coming in. So you can't put it in the product catalog. That's what I was going to do, but then I remembered, no, you can't do that. You have to put it on the line itself. But what you can do, just to be clear about this, if you go into POS mode, so if you're in POS mode like this, the three slashes, just like OS, you don't have to put the question mark in. So you can just come over here like this. You see I get it, and now it found that it was Pebblebrook. So in POS mode, you don't have to put the question mark in. Good question. No. Okay. Is that all the questions for this? If so, we will move on to the next section. Okay. We'll move right along here then. All right. So let's come over, and now we're going to go through, now we're going to go through moving inventory. Okay. So this situation would be, I have inventory in my warehouse, and I want to move it from bin to bin or receive it, that kind of a thing. Okay. We're going to start off, the equipment that we're going to buy is the same that we would have bought with POS. No different. So, you know, if you already have that test equipment that you bought, the cheap one is what I'm talking about, you're going to use that same exact thing for this testing. Okay. Now, I put pick one here, right? So what this means is that we have multiple different options on moving things around the warehouse. And you are going to pick just one of these options. And just like I was asking you to pick before, if you try doing them all at one time, it's going to get overwhelming, confusing, not a good thing, not a good idea. So pick one, let's get used to it, and then we can move on to the other one. So the easiest one, and that's the one we're going to show you today, the easiest one to do is move, okay? And so that's the one that I am going to show us now today. Whoop, let me see here. Okay, so we're going to practice moving things from bin to bin, and this is what you should do too. So I'm going to move over here to QFloors. We're going to go over to our materials screen here. First of all, you've got to print out a tag, right? So while you're doing your testing, you need to decide what kind of inventory tags you're going to print out possibly in the future to tag your warehouse. There are a lot more options here. So the first tags I was showing you only have to do with point of sale, really, okay? Then you have another set of tags that have to do with your inventory. And you can see I kind of already went and printed a bunch of these for myself so I could see them. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but in QFloors, when you go ahead and print tags, you've got inventory tags, remnant tags, inventory only tags, no prices, and then you have multiple different formats. Now, not every one will print in every format, so you're going to have to go through there and kind of see which ones that you are most interested in. If you've been using QFloors at any time at all, you probably already have an idea of which ones those are, but in the testing phase, make sure that you go through and that you know which inventory tags that you really want. The inventory tag and the remnant tag are basically the same. They just print out different prices on the front side of them. The inventory tag, I don't think this one has a barcode on it, so you're probably not going to use that one. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just grab one of these. I'll let you go through the exercise of printing out the ones that you want to look at later on. I'm going to just use the 8.5 by 11 because that's the one that has been there the longest and probably the most plain Jane. Now, the 8.5 and 11, this one is designed to fold right down the middle, right? And to go into like a plastic sleeve or something like that. Some people just tape them to the rolls or tape them to the front or tape them to the inventory. That can be done too, but is designed so that you fold it right here. And a lot of times people show their inventory for sale, and if they do that, they'll have the front part flipped over here. If not, then they usually have the back part flipped over. The barcode's on the front here. And so, but the principle will be the same no matter what kind of inventory tag you print out, okay? So we're going to talk about now moving things from bin to bin, okay? So I'm going to take this out of here for 1 second. So the way that you're going to test this out is you're going to hit this scanner button right here, okay? You'll notice that there are 5 different buttons on here, one for each kind of movement in the warehouse: receiving, moving from bin to bin, doing a pick ticket, which has to do with this tab up here. Staging corresponds to the staging tab, and transfer corresponds to the transfer tab. Okay, so we are going to do one of these today. So what I am going to do, oh, by the way, the other part of this that you're going to need to do, let's see, when you're practicing this, you will need to to go to your setup screen, and there's a bin locations option right here. I would just put in just a couple. Don't do all of your bins for the test, but you will need to print out a couple of bins, and that's what I did right here. So I just printed out A1 and A2, right here. And the large, I did the large bar, so this is large. That means the reason we do that is because you don't have to be quite so close with your barcode scanner. You can be a ways away. We'll talk more about that later on, but I just made the big ones here. And the idea is that you would go put these out on your bins, once you're going to do all this. But for testing purposes, just do a couple like what I did right here, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to print out one of your roll tags or inventory tags, which is what I did right here with this barcode. So I have two different ones here, okay? Two different barcodes. And I'll show you why I need both of them here in just a second, okay? So come back over to materials, we hit the scanner, and you can see that it's blinking in the material box right now. So this is my material, and the bin is right down below there. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna go ahead and hit my 12 right there. You can see that it hit the 12 and put it in there. You'll also notice that there was a sound in the background. Different sounds will be for different things, and the reason we do that is because if there's an error or something that happens, you'll be able to tell by the sound. You don't have to be right on the computer to tell that something went wrong with the scan, right? Just think about it. You're out in the warehouse and maybe you don't want to be carrying around all your stuff or don't want to be looking at your screen the whole time while you're doing, your barcode scanning because you want to go hit it without user intervention, right? So the sound that we create out of the computer will tell you if it was successful or not. Let me grab one of these here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my barcode there. And you can see it said success there, and there was another beep. And you can see I'm not even having to hit my keyboard or anything. I come back over, I do the very same thing again. Now I'm going to go to A2 here instead of A1. And you can see that I can move things around without even touching the keyboard. So what this does mean is I really suggest that when you're thinking about implementing a move feature in QFloors, that you have either a speaker on your forklift or some kind of a speaker, maybe even headphones, something, wireless headphones, so that you can tell what's going on when you're hitting the barcodes without actually looking at the screens, okay? So that's kind of what that feature's like. All right, so that is how you do a move. And these other features here, we won't go through all of those today. There is a video that we will be posting to the chat feature up here, a video on our training videos page. If you go down to the materials section, it will have a video on the warehousing features, and it's got move, receiving, pick, transfer on there. You'll see it there. It will walk you through more of the details on how you would do some of these other features here. Okay, let's come back to our presentation, see where I'm at here. So you're going to practice, just like I just did right here, moving your inventory from bin to bin. Make sure that you fully understand how that works, okay? I just mentioned the sound will help, okay? So once you're convinced that you really want to implement this type of feature in your operation, the next thing you're going to do is make sure that you tag your warehouse, right? So notice that's why I wanted you to test this out first, because if you go spend hours and hours tagging things with a barcode and then don't end up using it, that could be pretty frustrating. And I get a mad customer, something. So trying to prevent that, all right? So what you're going to do first is you're going to set up your bin numbering system. Now, the way you do this is pretty important. The labels are the ones I just talked about right here, okay? But the way that you're going to code that out in your warehouse and code that into QFloors can make a difference, okay? And let me just show you why here, okay? In QFloors, when you're searching for bins, if you just put an A, by the way, let me put my bin column in over here so that we can see what's going on. Okay, so I've got my bin column here. Let's sort by this. Okay, you can see that I have a bunch in here. So if I just type the letter A down in here into my bins, okay, whoop, like that, you can see that everything that starts with a bin of A will come up, okay? But if I typed in, let's just say 5 instead, right? You can see that nothing came up, even though there was an A5 there, okay? So you can see the A5 right here. So, you know, as you're naming your bins, you want to be strategic on how you're going to do that. Now, A, you can see I have an A2, 3, 4, 5 here. A could be in reference to a column, or it could be in reference to a row. So let's just say I had a racking system where it was 3 racks high and 6 racks to the side, right? So if I made the first row or the first column all A, I would have A1, 2, and 3. Then I would have B1, 2, and 3, C1, 2, and 3, all the way out to 6, right? 6 letters. Or I could choose to go the other way where I go across. So I'm going across now. I'd have A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. And then the middle row, I would have B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6. Now, why is this important? Because when you're taking inventory, when you're doing cycle counts, sometimes you want to take inventory bin by bin, but sometimes you want to do it row by row or sometimes column by column. If you don't choose the right labeling method, it will prohibit you from doing either rows or, I mean, you've got to choose, I want to do my inventory by either rows or by columns. And then you have to label it accordingly. And that will come into play in our next section. But as we're talking about labeling bins, you just need to be pretty strategic, because now I can come down and you can say A1. Oh, here's everything that is in A1. Some of you may not have big enough warehouses to have bins, okay? Some of you may have pretty small warehouses, but you still may want to take inventory by strategic locations. So maybe you only have 3 locations or 3 bins in your whole warehouse. Maybe you have front, back, and staging, you know, and that's it. And those are all of your bin locations, and that's fine. Maybe you only have 1 bin location for the whole store, and if you do that, then you don't obviously need to move things from bin to bin, right? So um, you you may have all of those types of scenarios, but we have customers that are very small with no warehouses. We have customers that have football field 2 or 3 types of warehouses. So QFloors has got to work for all those different situations, right? Okay, so let's go back to our presentation here now. So you need to know how to set up your bins, and then you're going to strategically go and label those and put them into QFloors. Now, I think I showed you just briefly on our setup screen right here where I've got bin locations. You are going to want to add, you know, each bin in here. So you just do this and add, right? And you'll want to label all of your bins. Then once you've labeled all those, then you're going to print and you're going to highlight all the ones that you want to print. So if you want to do them all at one time, you highlight them all, hit the print button, and it's going to print these labels like I just showed you. And then you're going to go out and place them in your warehouse. Okay, so that's labeling your bins and getting those all set up the correct way. Then you're going to come back and start putting bin locations for your inventory. Okay, and every time you start to receive stuff, you're going to put tags on them, and you're going to put a bin on it. Okay. And at first, it's all going to be manual. So you're not even going to use a barcode. Don't even worry about it. You got to get everything tagged, labeled, and put bins on everything before you really need to worry about barcode equipment and doing barcodes. So first step is to know how to do all this stuff manually. Okay. So let me come back to my presentation here real quick. Okay. So we just talked about the groups of bins. They matter in QFloors, so be strategic about it. Start assigning and changing the bins manually, which is what I just talked about. Okay. You're going to choose your tags now, the ones that you're really going to put on your inventory. And like I said, you're going to start tagging everything as it starts to come in. Before you even worry about the barcoding, you got to get to this point and start to get most stuff put on there, right? And then at some point, you're going to decide, all right, we're far enough along where we have most things tagged here. Let's just finish this up. Let's come in on a Saturday or whatever, get everybody here. Let's get everything tagged so that I have a tag on, I would suggest everything. Okay. Some people are only keeping inventory on parts of things. Really, you really want to do almost everything. There's very few things that you don't want. If you want to do it right, right? If you want to do this right, you want to have a tag on every piece of inventory you have. Okay. All right. Now, once you're at this point, now you got to buy your equipment, and I will talk about equipment purchases at the very end of the demonstrate of the webinar here. So I'll kind of put that off till the last, but it's at this point that you buy the equipment. And for this kind of barcoding, the equipment investment is probably going to be a lot more. The barcode scanners usually have to be a lot more rugged and scan from farther different distances and stuff like that. So could be a significant investment depending on your warehouse. Okay, and this is what I was just talking about is we have a support video. I think, did you post? He posted in there the URL, the address of where that support video is. It's on our training page. And once you get done with all this and do all this, then you could pick another one. Pick receiving probably next. That's probably the next most popular one and probably the easiest ones. And then pick, staging, and transfer are great ones, but you really have to know how to do that manually inside of QFloors first before you even attempt doing it with barcoding. Okay, have to have it down through our manual system first before you do barcoding. All right, let's go see if we have a few questions here we've got going. Let's see. Okay, Pam, how do you get to the move screen? All right, one more time. So you're in your material screen right here. There's a scanner button down at the bottom, and here's where you get to the move button. Okay. All right, he posted the link there. I guess, is that the only, where is the scanner button? Oh, so I just showed you scanner buttons here, moves buttons on that. Okay. By the way, if there's some things, you can always go back and rewatch this video that we'll be posting. I don't know if people got here late or whatever, but you can go back and look at that. Will barcoding work if you have a remote warehouse? Yes. Of course it will. If you have a remote warehouse, you have to be connecting to QFloors some way with a tablet or some kind of a Surface device. I really suggest, and we'll talk about this later, a Windows device. But you'll be connecting remotely, and then the barcode reader that I just showing you will be a wireless device. We'll talk about that later, but yes. Would you need to label every single CTN or just each pallet? You're going to put you're going to put a label on everything that has a material number. So anything that has its own unique material number should also have its own label on it. Okay, because when you go to take inventory, that's you want to account for everything that has a label. Now, sometimes people are combining on one pallet. They may combine two different shipments into one. We have a merge feature. That's for another day. You can ask our support department about merge features. But you could merge if you have two different products. It's the same product, but two different POs. You can merge those together into one and only have one tag for the whole thing. But that would require a merge. Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, one more. If you have one material number that is 900 boxes, would I have to label every single box? So I think no. No, usually the labels are according to PO numbers because they have different costs, right? So every time you issue an order and a PO, there could potentially be a different cost there, and so that's usually where the labels are, and then I just said you can merge them together. So, yep. All right, I think we'll move on. Thank you for your questions. I will. By the way, I will take more questions at the very end if I haven't answered your question. We'll take the time to do that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to physical inventory reconciliation. Okay. You should know that there is a way to do inventory reconciliation without a barcode scanner. So that's what I'm talking about right here. You can when you're doing inventory reconciliation with a barcode scanner, you are actually creating an Excel file or a text file inside of the barcode scanner, and then you're transferring that file over to QFloors, over the machine that has QFloors on it, and then you're importing that file. And so you can create the Excel file manually, and I'll probably just comment on that here in a second. I think we'll probably do that right now. So the reason I bring this up is you don't even have to have the barcode scanner in order to test how this inventory reconciliation would go. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that these inventory reconciliation scanners are some of the more expensive ones. They're $600, right? And so if you really want to know if you want to do inventory this way, I kind of suggest that you do it manually first with your own Excel file before going out, grabbing and buying a barcode scanner. Okay, so let's go and show you how you would kind of do that and test. Okay, so you're going to create a file first off. So let's come over here real quick, and I have already created a file here called cipherlab.txt. You can open this up in Notebook or in Excel, either one, it doesn't matter. So you can see that this is in my notepad, and the file is very simple. The format is very simple. The caret means that what comes after this is my material number. The 110 is the quantity, and the very last field here, and they're separated by commas, right? The very last field is the units. Okay, so you can see that for every product, or this would be corresponding to every inventory item I have out in my warehouse, I would have one line for each item. Okay, and there's only 3 fields. So that's why you could create this conceivably fairly quickly. A 1 right here at the end stands for square yards. A 2 is square feet, 3 is linear feet, and 4 is each. Okay, so but it is required to have all 3 of these fields. Okay, so you could quite simply make a little file like this. Okay, and make sure that there's only 3 fields, make it like this, and save it. And then you could come over to your QFloors system, okay, and test this out with your own inventory, okay? And the way you're going to do that is you're going to hit your Cleanup Stock button right here. You're going to come over to Reconcile button, And then you're going to find that file that I just created. So let's see if I can find that here. I think it's in my webinar folder right here. And here it is. So I've got a TXT here. It could be CSV, which stands for comma separated values. The file I created was a CSV file, and you could actually do it in Excel too. Doesn't matter, but it has to be saved as a CSV file or a TXT file. Okay. So once I grab this, I'm going to import it into here. Duplicate entries for this must be fixed. Wonderful. Oh, okay. I think it worked. We'll see here real quick. So I imported that file. And now if I come down and I want to look at bin A, right? And I click in here, you can see that it quite quickly got rid of most of the stuff that's on there because it's only now looking in the QFloors inventory at bin number A. And more specifically, I want bin A1, okay? Because I'm just looking at one individual bin right now, okay? And it's missing all of my items because something did not get imported correctly. This happened to me last week. I was just doing this just before the... Oh, maybe... Hold on here. Maybe I had two files open. Maybe there was a conflict there. Oh, that's the other thing, is it may not be able to be open when you import it, right? Because it's showing that it's open and it can't open the file. Let me try it again once it's closed now. No. Let me see. Duplicate entries. So 169 should not be missing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to close QFloors and start over just to make sure that it's not, because I was just doing this just before I came in here. This is the way it always works when you're doing a demonstration for a lot of people. It likes to do its own thing. Okay. All right, let's try it again and see if I can get this to work. Huh. Well, it was just working. So there was an error on the import. I'm not sure. I'll do what I did last week. I'll probably continue on so I'm not holding up the demo here. And after the webinar, I will come back and figure out what's wrong. There's something wrong with my file here. I'm not sure. Maybe it's, oh, it could be that. See how I had an extra space down here? I'm going to try it one more time. See if this is what it was. Don't put an extra space at the end, I guess. Try this one more time here and see if I can get it to work. Because I would like to get it to work. Doesn't look like it's going to. So anyway, the whole gist of this would be that it will create a report, and we have these multiple reports here, missing items. So this would say that in QFloors, I've got this item in A1, and the import that I imported does not show that I have any of these in A1, right? So it's showing all of these missing. Now, obviously, the file I imported, there are some in A1, so there's an error. I'm getting an error in QFloors. So it's telling me that there is a problem with my file. Okay, quantity difference. So if I go to my quantity difference one and type in there, it would show me any of, if the quantities are not the same in QFloors as out in the warehouse, it'll show me those. Okay, so it'll give me a list of all those. If you have any that are coming in on the import that are showing on order still or not in stock, it will give me the status issue. And then this one right here says, hey, I've got an item out in my warehouse, but in QFloors, it's not in there. It's showing gone, or it's not even in there. So it would give me a list of those also, right? So that's what it's showing right here. So because it didn't import correctly. So anyway, you can play around with this and test this out manually before you even go buy a scanner. Okay, you can type in your own file, and if it happened to you like it happened to me right here where it didn't come in right, we will help you with that. But you can go ahead and do that, and then do all your testing before you even buy your scanners, right? So that's really what I suggest, so you can kind of get a feel for how this is going to work. Now you can see when I'm doing this, I can do it either one bin at a time, or I can do it one row at a time, or one column at a time, right? So if I'm doing all the A's here, you can see all my missing items, right? So it'll do all of the A's or A1s, right? Which is fewer. Or I could just do my whole store. If I do that, I take all my bin locations out and do my whole store at one time. Okay, my whole warehouse. So you can do it all that. There's variance right here. When we're matching up quantities, you can put a variance in there so that it doesn't have to be exactly the right amount. So let's say that when you're taking your inventory, you put in 100 square yards of something, and QFloors was showing 102 square yards. It wouldn't flag that as being the quantity off, because it would be off by less than 5%. So it tries to bring up or get rid of the false positives in here by doing the variance. Okay, so that's how you're going to do this and test this out. Hopefully your test worked better than my test worked. Like I say, I'll come back to that in just a second here though. So we created a file for that bin, and then you're going to test that out, right? And then the manual creation, those are the 1, 2, and 3 that I already explained. Scanners are expensive, so make sure you do it this way first before you go buy the scanner. You're going to load the file like I just did, go through the reports like I just did, okay? After you've done all that and you've decided, yes, this is really what I want, to be able to take a physical inventory like this, then you're going to go at this point and go tag your warehouse, okay? And we already talked about that in the last section about the strategies about doing that, so I'm not going to go over that again. Okay. Last step is then you're going to purchase the scanner. Now, I mentioned this, the inventory reconciliation scanner, they're more expensive. All the other scanners that were talked about so far, they're pretty generic. You can get them from anywhere. But the inventory reconciliation scanner, it's very specific. Okay. And let's see. And we'll talk about that. There's some, we'll talk about that after this, but it's called the Cypher 8000. And I really suggest you buy it from us, because if you do that, then we will pre-program it. If you buy it from somewhere else, we can't guarantee that will work. So there's a custom QFloors program that has to be loaded on it. And so that's one of the reasons that makes it so expensive. Okay, they're about $600, I believe. Okay, so once you purchase your scanner, then of course you can go out and scan your inventory. By the way, I thought I had one of those scanners. It was right here. Somebody put it somewhere. Maybe. I was going to show it to you. I don't know where it went. It says Cypher 8000 on it, if you guys see it anywhere. Oh, here it is. It's right here, right next to me. This is the Cypher 8000. Okay. And one of the difference really is that as you're scanning and putting in the information, it stores it all in here all at one time. When you get done, then you're going to take it back over to the computer, load the file into the computer, right? So, and then do the file just like what we just did with QFloors. So we already talked about you're either going to do it bin by bin, row by row, column by column, however you're going to do it. That's one way to do it. Columns and rows. And the last one would be you could just do the complete warehouse at one time, right? There is an option where you can scan bin by bin or in different files into this scanner right here. It will allow you to do multiple files. You can transfer those files over to QFloors, and at the end, once you have all the files over on the computer, you can put those files together. Like you can cut and paste and put all of those files into one file if you want, if that helps you get a better report out of QFloors. So that is an option also. Okay. All right. Let's pause for any questions that you might have for inventory reconcile scanning here. Alrighty. So while I'm waiting for the questions, maybe I'll just reiterate real quick that when you take these, basically you're gonna plug it into your computer. It'll say transfer. You have to so there is some other software that goes along with this. It's a little bit of a process. I mean, you have to have some practice with it in order for this to turn out right. If you weren't going to use this, maybe I should just bring this up. If you weren't going to use this kind of scanner, one other option is you could have a person going through the racks and one down with a laptop just typing into an Excel. So that would require two people to do it that way. If you didn't have a barcode, but you could run the very same reports as we were just showing you if you did it that way. That would be one other option. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions here, so I'm going to move on real quick and go to the barcode equipment. Okay. Okay, so point of sale barcoding equipment and moving inventory. That equipment is basically the same. Okay, not too big of a difference in the kinds of technology, but there is such a wide range of possible products that you can use. So when you're looking at this, you have to decide: do I want wired? Do I want wireless? Bluetooth? You know, there's all different kinds of connections of ways that it can connect to a computer. How far away do I want to be able to scan the barcode from? Right. So if it's some of these will go for 30 feet or so, right? And so that is one thing that you need to decide, and it really affects the price. The farther away it is, the more expensive it's going to be. The type of paper that you're going to print your barcodes on, maybe your bins, that especially people like maybe being able to scan a bin from a long ways away. You could buy special reflective paper that's really expensive, but you could go 30 feet away with this special reflective paper. So or you just use normal paper and then you can only go 10 feet away, right? So it's all these things are things that are depending upon what kind of barcode scanner you're actually going to purchase. Okay. I mentioned some scanners like this one I'm using right here. It's a $50 scanner. It's basically inches. I have to be pretty close, like within 12 inches or so. I can't go 2 to 3 feet away and have it work. Okay. As I mentioned, durability is another factor in this. Are you going to be dropping it all over the place and stuff like that? Some scanners, you drop them one time and you're done, and you're going to have to go buy another one. Some you can drop from at the very top rack all the way down, and it's going to be okay. So those are some other things. Do I need it to be waterproof? Stuff like that. So these are all factors in what you have to consider when you're buying scanner. And obviously, depending on what you choose, it could be as cheap as $50, but some of these go 1,000. I've seen $1,500 scanners, right? So if you want to, if scan from the longest possible way, and you want to be able to drop it from 100 feet and it still work and that kind of a thing, then it's going to be over $1,000. Okay. Okay. So you kind of have to decide what you're going to need, and that's why I don't want you to make a decision on hardware until you know you're all in, and then I think you'll make a better choice on what kind of scanners that you're really going to need. We already talked about the inventory reconciliation scanner. Okay, it's a CipherLab 8000. It's the only one we support for inventory reconciliation, so you have to buy that exact model. Okay. If you buy your own model and create your own Excel file with it, I'm fine with that. That's fine. But if you call in and need help, we're going to ask you, all right, what kind of scanner do you have? And we're not going to be able to help you. Okay. So the other thing is, I think I talked about this before already. I really suggest that for the wireless connections out in your warehouse, if you have wireless scanners out there, use a Windows device. iPads are really, for whatever reason, they don't work really well. So if you're going to use an iPad, make sure that whatever scanner that you're buying works with an iPad. I would go to the manufacturer and make sure they guarantee that it's going to work with an iPad so that you can get support and help if you have to connect your scanner to an iPad or to even to a Surface. You know, before you buy these scanners up here, make sure that whatever you're buying will connect to whatever device you're going to use. Windows seems to be a little bit more forgiving in the wireless arena, or a little bit more compatible. For whatever reason that is, I don't know, but they do. So, you know, you can buy Surfaces that are, you know, not very big, and then you can also buy things where you can attach a tablet to yourself. There's harnesses. You can attach them to your forklifts. You can, you know, you've got to have a plan before you go buy a bunch of stuff on how you're actually going to use this. And that's probably the biggest thing I'm trying to help you understand is before you go do all this kind of stuff, make sure you test it out. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you know how this is all going to work before you go buy 10 Surfaces, right? For $1,500 a piece. That would be, you know, uh, trying to get you so that you know exactly what the plan is before you do this. Okay. All right. 2-in-1's Microsoft Surface. Okay. That is my presentation for today. I'm gonna go back here and look. You know, I'm 3:09, so I'm about 10 minutes over here, but go back here and look at our questions, and then I'm going to go back and try to fix whatever it was that I did wrong. So, all right, it looks like I have one question. When the recording of this training will be posted, it won't be emailed, I don't think. Oh, it will be emailed? Okay. Will be emailed to the attendees. It'll be up by tonight. So it takes about 2 hours for us to render the video. So it'll be up there sometime tonight. Does the CipherLab update QFloors automatically? No, it does. Let's see, via Wi-Fi, or does it need to get plugged in? So the CipherLab, maybe I skimmed over that pretty quickly. You're going to go back, you're going to collect all the data, then you're going to go plug it into your computer, and you're going to download this exact file. This one right here. This is what the file will look like that's coming from the CipherLab. It will look exactly like this, only it's going to work, right? And so so you're going to copy the file from your CipherLab over into the onto your computer, and then you're going to do the same exact function that I was just using here really quick, where you're going to go to clean up stock, reconcile, and you're going to choose the file that came from the CipherLab. Okay, and then once you choose that file, it's going to bring it up onto here, and it will give you a report. So in QFloors, it gives you the report. Then you take the report and you have to manually do the updates. Okay, it doesn't automatically do them for you, or right now it doesn't assume that all the data came in correctly, right? So it's giving you kind of a file for you to look at and go off on, and then you're going to make your updates based upon, hey, these items are missing. Hey, these ones all have a quantity difference. Why is that? And it actually allows you to vet out the files first or vet out the reports first before any of the updates are made. Okay. So Dallin just posted. There is a document that we have on our website that talks about barcoding equipment a little bit more. Shows some of the ones that we've tested out already. Not saying I endorse those by any means, other than we have tested them and they seem to work. But you may have your favorite brand of barcoding equipment, and that's totally fine, other than the Cipher Lab. All right. I am going to get back to trying to make this thing work, and then if anybody comes up with any other questions while I'm doing this or working around this, then you can. I think I'm going to keep this recording here for just a second. Should I? Should I keep it recording? I'm looking at the marketing people. All right, I'll keep it recording just in case I fix it here really quick. Last week I fixed it within just a couple of minutes. So now it's saying that it doesn't like something that's coming in here, and I'm not sure. I tested it out and it worked perfectly. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna open this with Excel and try that. Maybe there's some characters in there that I can't see that aren't correct. So I'm going to open that same file and I'm going to use comma separated. Next. And should look right now. Okay. So I have this right here. I'm going to save this. This all looks right to me now. I am going to save this as a CSV file. Save as. Let's go right here. CSV. Right here. And I am going to save this to the webinar, Cipher Lab. Okay. Let's hit save here. All right. Let's get out of here. Let's see, did it? Yep. Saved my Cipher Lab right there. All right, let's see. By the way, you have to be out of Excel for it to come in. So let me try my cleanup stock here again. Now you can see I have two files here, a CSV and a TXT. Duplicated entries for product number. Product number 0. This must be fixed before moving forward. You know what? I did have in over here. Let me try this. I wonder if this has something to do with it. I did have my bin number over here before. Bin A. Let me try this. So it tells me there's probably not something wrong with the file. It might be something wrong with QFloors. I don't know. Without going through the code, I might not be able to. Huh. The weird part is I moved everything over right before the demonstration so that you could hear the sound. So I might have Might have screwed that up. I'm going to try to go out and come in one more time. QFloors. If this doesn't work, then I'll have to end it and go figure it out. But it's the method of what you're going to do anyway, I guess, that counts. 8. All right, one more time. I'm going to try this one. Huh. Yeah, there's duplicated product imported. Something's going wrong. All right, well, I'll work on it. We'll post a solution somewhere, maybe out on Facebook or something. Once I get it figured out, it'll take me a few minutes. So thank you so much for coming. And we will have another webinar next week, I think, at the same time. And it will be commercial applications, commercial products. No, commercial project management and commercial functions of QFloors. So thanks.